Hello everyone, this is Bhaumik Patel. I'm a student of computer science from the Texas A&M Kingsville, and my KID number is 372812. Today guys, I'm gonna explaining about the compact visualization of Java programming and executions. So we discuss over here first the introductions, the Java architecture, then vertical compactions, horizontal compactions, multi-thread execution compactions, and some of the experimental results. And then after we discuss about the conclusions of what the further works will be going on for the next of this after the experiment. The introductions of the virtual visualization execution is the goal of our research is to facilitate the comprehension of the runtime behavior of the object-oriented programs. Here, the state-of-the-art visualization, the debugging, the dynamic analysis of the system for the Java programs are being conducted and developing in a Java environment, that's a Java interactive visual environment. And Java's visualizations for two types of diagrams are particularly useful. First is object diagrams and second is a sequence diagram. The object diagram captures the state of the execution in terms of active objects and interconnections, whereas the sequence diagram captures the history of the methods interactions between the objects. So here the Java supports the numbers of useful features. That's what the basic for the visualization structures and execution history. And interactive forward and reversing stepping, query based debugging, dynamic slicing of the program, and execution summarizations. The next is the Java architecture. The Java is a Java interactive visualization environment, which is a tool itself that is a versatile and suitable for the numbers of applications. Software debugging, comprehensive dynamic visualizations, teaching a program languages and software engineering. See, the Java is an open source, thus the applications will be run plugins of the Javas are available openly. So Java resembles a traditional debuggers, like it works like the debuggers, how it works like allowing one to define a breakpoint, inspect the other variables, and step into and over instructions and so on. See, Java runs the Java program in a debug mode while collecting execution events. So corresponding to the particular instruction of the program, the variables, the method calls and objects creations are being called are captured in this software, and these events are collected into a memory model, and the memory models are constructed in order to support a dynamic visualization. Java also implements is based on the model view controller structure. The all components of the Javas are independently working, but they are connectively and work collaboratively. So they are the controllers, debuggers, data models, and the debuggers UI. Let's see the what's the debugger part of the Java does. The Java's debugger is implemented on the top of the Java platform debugger architecture. So that's called a JPDA. And event debugging architectures where the debuggers and debuggies tries run in a separate JVM. The type of events supported by the JPDA are here the virtual machines are start, connected, and destroyed or ended. Secondly, the class prepares and unloads. Here the debug JPD also does creates the thread and end the thread. You also call the methods and returns the value. It can accept a field access and modifications, even throws exceptions and even caught the exceptions, and the execution is by the line by line. The sequence diagram captures the history of the object to object interactions, and hence a method call and event are particularly interest to us. The method calls event and exit are formed in the form of like a method has a parameter like a thread, event ID, caller, and target. So here the thread, event ID, and caller are the parameters are identifiers as an invocation instance some method in the context of some object. Let's see an example. In this invocation instance is represented as mi hashtag CI, where mi is the ith invocation instance of the method, and cj, that is jth of the class. So the Java controller, here Java controller requests event from JPD and process the event notification received by JPD, and the model manager receives the event from the event handler and triggers the appropriate model change. Finally, the UI engine uses the data contained in the model to obtain the object and sequence diagram. Let's see there are two types of compactions. They are the vertical compactions and the second is horizontal compactions. The first we see the horizontal compactions, and then we'll see the vertical compactions. And the vertical compactions are the call tree, are fundamental structure that captures the hierarchical calls and callers relations of procedural programs executions. At the execution time, a call tree grows in a depth first manner. When execution has reached a particular node, all node on the path from the root of the tree to this node represents a stack of the outstanding method call. That means the sequence diagram can be viewed as a call tree that is displayed in a horizontal left to right manners, and accepts that objects and lifelines are not captured in a traditional call tree. Our interest is a call tree that stems from the fact that it facilitates the formulations of the vertical compactions of the sequence diagram, because we can replace a subtree by a single node or a collection of the sibling node by a single node. There are three techniques are being used for these vertical compactions. First is labeling, second is compactions, and third is the compactions. Labeling: the vertical compaction of the sequence diagram involves replacing a sequence of the consecutive active boxes by a single boxes with the regular expression labels that is computed from the method name associated with the activation box. The compaction: the purpose of compaction is to fold a call tree so as to achieve the maximum compaction. The compaction makes a crucial use of the label procedures and describes the previous subsections. We can apply this labeling process to all levels of the call trees, either drop down or bottom up fashions. Let's discuss with the horizontal compactions. And again, the horizontal compaction has occurred in three different manners: during the vertical compactions, by grouping the lifelines, and when the class are filtered out. The simple case of horizontal compactions during the vertical compactions arise when the method makes a nested call to the method. In the root structure, such as tree, the vertical compactions generally results in a horizontal compaction, as well as because compaction operation starts at the root of the structure. For example, when n values are inserted into binary search tree, each insertion starts with the call such as root insert. Each of these inserts will be generally called a left to right insertions, right to left insertions after compactions. So the group lifelinings can help in a significant reduction of the sequence diagram size when the multiple objects of the class are represented. This is applicable when the objects of the class interact only with the objects of the other class. That means the extension of the subclass from the parent class, then only we can use the objects of the previous parent class in a child class. Hence, the choosing of representing the objects of each class is insufficient, or you can say sufficient for conveying the intent effect. Third is the exclusive filter. A Java interactive virtual environment, exclusive filters are motivated by observation that often users know prior that certain part of the code are trusted or interrelated to the particular task. The type filter, method filter, and visual scope filters are the part of the numbers of filtering techniques in exclusive filter. Out of model call. An important consequences of the filtering is that the execution trace can no longer be used to drive the full model necessary. Like let's say an example with the outstanding program behavior, like the whole of the instructions happening among the specific objects. To address this problem, we introduce the notions of out of model entries as well as the extension of the sequence diagrams to present the interactions between the in model and out of model entity. The now we have one more execution conditions is multi-thread execution compactions. In multi-thread environment, the control may shift between the threads in an unpredictable manner during the course of executions. Here the thread may be access one or more common objects, so maybe do so in any exclusive or non-exclusive manner. While the call the thread may remain same, the interleaving patterns may vary between two execution depending on the synchronization primitive used. Let's say the problems of example of three threads like a main, producer and consumer in the program. Okay, this example is of the producer consumer problem, and here the main thread initialize the buffer objects and start the producer and consumer thread. Thereafter, the producer and consumer invokes write and read method of the buffer and respectively twice and exit. The thread is represented by a separate column, so observations are in the order. So, in all scenario, the call sequence by the three threads were considered individually remains the same. That is, main instant buffer producer executes two operations: write operations, consumer read operations. The write and read calls made by the processor consumer thread respectively are interleaved and consequently compact of write and read calls. So no overlapping scenario that affects there is no interleave really between the producer and consumer thread. The compactions in such case can be performed independently and no special handling is required for this scenario. Let's see the conclusions. What are the conclusion of the discussion? The object-oriented program executions can be visualized in a clear and intuitive way using the object and sequence diagram. While the object diagram captures the current state of the executions, and sequence diagram summarize the history of the interactions between the objects and the input data. The result of the research of development a COTRAM algorithm computing these labels based upon the concept of tandem repeat in the sequence. So the experiments on the wide range of the test cases shows the quadratic time complexity is not limiting factors in the practice, as the labeling is typically applicable to the small subsequences of the overall execution sequence. Our labeling and compaction technique have been developed as a plugin in a Jive dynamic analysis and visual system of Java. So there will be further order of the validations and other techniques is used for the Jive system in order to demonstrate that the compaction techniques are scalable. Our in the experiment shows that this tends to a highly recursive in a nature. If we see in a theoretical manner, a pure vertical compactions will not apply if all method calls are distinct, and pure horizontal compaction will apply if objects are instances of different classes. Such execution stresses are necessarily small and small in practice, and hence the compaction is not needed to such stress. As a part of our current and future work, we are exploring a compact representation of runtime behavior in which a state of program is also considered. When a program have a repetitive behavior, as in the case of server, we construct the final state machine diagram, and that summarizes the program behavior with respect to a key variable of interest to the users. Thank you.